Chengli and the Silk Road Caravan by Hildy Kang. Chapter 5. Chengli wasn't hungry. He hunched down in the dinner circle and stared at nothing. He sat without eating, listening to the voice that pushed and pulled his mind the same way his spirit wind used to push and shove his body. His head rang with the voice from the cart over and over, again and again. Ask, it said. I give you no choice. In about a week they should reach Duhong, and Chengli had no idea what he should do. He stood up, determined to ask Master Fong for guidance. Out of my way, bellowed the master. Master Fong strode into the camp circle and shoved Chengli aside without even noticing who he was. Where is the thief? I will rip him apart. The scar on Master Fong's cheek quivered with rage. My elegant inkstone, an inkstone worthy of the Emperor's treasures. With it I must fill out all the required travel declarations to give to the inspectors when we reach Duhong. Without the documents, we will not be allowed out through the gate. And without the inkstone, there will be no documents. It is gone. Only a gremlin could know where I kept it. It could not have simply fallen out on the road. He glared at each one of his men. Don't just sit there, he roared, his whole body trembling. Find it! The men dropped their supper bowls, spilling the spicy noodles and cabbage in all directions. They leaped to their feet and scattered. Chengli ran from the circle, dashing this way and that way, searching the ground until he bumped into Fourth Brother, slowly making his way back to the campfire. Master is so careless, said Fourth Brother. First he loses his jacket, and now this. Come on, we can find it for him, said Chengli. Relax, it must be gone, for I've looked all around and couldn't find it. Things lost in this desert disappear forever. Fourth Brother shrugged and went to eat his meal. Sure enough, each man returned from the search empty-handed. They sat in silence, trying to ignore the scowl on the face of their master, and in silence they finished their meal. Morning came, and with it their lives took on the predictable rhythm. The caravan moved northward with the slow speed of heavily laden camels. Day after day they trudged along between the mountains on the left and the gray, gravelly desert on the right. Herds of wild camels peppered the horizon. Mounds of sand lay trapped, tight against tufts of brown desert scrub brushes, dried out and prickly. Chengli had stared in amazement the day they passed the end of the Great Wall. Somehow he thought the wall just kept going, and there it was, the end. It made him a little uneasy to realize he was actually leaving the Middle Kingdom, the China he had always known. Now China was behind him, and ahead were the deserts he had heard of only in stories. To his right, as far as he could see, stretched the gray stones of the Gobi. To his left, just coming into view, lay the boundless sweep of the Talcamacan sand, drier and hotter, he had been told, than any place known to man. Chengli used to brag to little Limp that he knew all about caravans, but bit by bit now he realized he hardly knew anything at all. He hadn't known where China ended. He didn't know about the cities outside of China along the edge of the desert. Oasis cities, Bori called them, because each one could only exist right at the base of a mountain where a river came down from the melting snow. When the river disappeared under the sand of the desert, the city and farms around it just stopped. Nothing could live without that water. And kings, oh, the kings that Bori talked about. Each one of those desert cities had its own ruler. Imagine, a different king each time the caravan stopped. Chengli got confused just thinking about it. Abdul said the kings were like little emperors, each one ruling his own city. It had to be that way, he thought, because each city stood alone, with hundreds and hundreds of miles of desert between it and the next oasis. So for something to do during the boredom of walking, Chengli memorized the names of each city: Duhang, Hami, Turpan, Kucha, and finally Kashgar, and wondered what he'd find in each of them. Would anyone know about his father? As they got closer to Dunhuang, Chengli thought again of the princess's demand and wondered how to fulfill it, but no answer came. Then one night he awoke. He watched the moon slide slowly across the sky, and with it his mind slid across his ideas and discarded them into the night. Discarded all but one, that is, and the more he thought on it, the better it sounded. Finally he rolled out of his blanket, crept across the dark shadowed ground to Fourth Brother, and shook him awake. Fourth Brother, I have an idea, but I'll need your help. For this you wake me in the middle of the night? Wait till morning, grumbled the elder boy. No, listen to me, Chengli pleaded. Not now. Yes, now. I need you. Hey, boy, go away. Let me sleep. No. Fine, I'm awake now. What do you want? Fourth brother sat up and hugged his blanket around his shoulders. I know how we can get the princess to the party, but I need your help. Chengli pulled himself closer to fourth brother and lowered his voice. Once we get to Duhong, the monks told me they will leave our caravan and join the family of the king who rules Duhong. That family is going to the cave temple to have their portrait painted on one of the walls there. What's that got to do with our princess? Fourth brother mumbled. That's what I'm telling you. Just stay awake. For us to get the permission our princess demands for the fifth day celebration, we must we just have to follow the monks. They said they plan to join up with the royal family, so we follow them, go up to the most important looking man who surely will be the king, introduce ourselves, and tell him about our princess. You're dumber than a rock. Kings are rich and wear silk and gold and rubies, and they don't listen to dirty, smelly caravan workers. He grabbed his blanket and pulled it tight over his head to shield his neck from the chill of the night. Do you have a better idea? I have no idea at all, but I don't need any ideas. The princess gave the order to you, not to me, fourth brother said. Chengli yanked the blanket away from his friend's face and kept whispering, I know I am a tiger by birth, and that should make me strong enough. But, he hesitated, I also know that you have never lacked for ideas. By myself, I'd never think of the right thing to say. Chengli gently poked the older boy. You always know the best words to use. Fourth brother paused, then chuckled. You're right about that. It's worth a try. He rolled back down into his blanket and covered his head. Now go to sleep, came the muffled order. Trudging northward, the caravan left the protection of the mountains and started around the edge of the great sand desert. Chengli thought about the city of Duhong and wondered what they would trade there. He knew that 90 of Master's camels were loaded with treasures to be sold at the far end of their route. But the last 10 camels, his camels, had items they could trade at the oasis towns along the way, giving them fresh food and more water for their journey. Thus every day his curiosity grew, until Duhong seemed a magical place. Full of such thoughts, he loaded and unloaded the camels, gathered more sweat and dirt on his clothing and more calluses on his feet. Finally the cry echoed along the line, Oasis! Duhong! And sure enough, far off in the distance, above the green of the oasis, Chengli could just make out the massive red brick tower with its two arching roofs that signaled the gate to the city. As they moved nearer, they came to the farmers' huts, lush orchards, and colorful gardens, all watered by channels of water brought from the river. A real river. The road followed the canal, and Chengli grinned from ear to ear as he walked past travelers resting along the water's edge or lighting sticks of incense to place on an altar of the river dragon. The city of Duhong ranked as an official checkpoint for people entering or leaving China. Inspectors gave the stamp of approval to legal traders and checked for smugglers who tried to get illegal items in or out of China. As such, it bustled with activity. Noise and confusion bubbled in all directions. Caravans reported their wares with all the details of where it came from, where it was going, plus the size and weight of each camel's load. Soldiers patrolled, inspectors inspected, tax collectors collected import and export taxes. Caravans moved through passport and animal control as they entered and left the safety of the Middle Kingdom. Chengli knew they would take one of his camels and empty its load at the market, selling iron tools to the men and bronze mirrors and colorful pottery to the women, along with the bricks of hard-packed tea and bags of rice. This city had nearly as many people as Chang'an, and as they wanted the same luxuries as people farther south and were willing to pay for them. In exchange, the caravan could get the dried food it needed noodles, fish, figs, persimmons, and vegetables to keep the group going to the next town. On the day when Master Fong and Uncle Tao met with the customs officials, Chengli saw the monks gather their belongings and stride off toward the city. He called to fourth brother, and both boys ran to fall in step behind the monks. Go back, the young monk cautioned. No, we must follow you, Chengli answered, and they trailed behind the monks as they walked toward the gateway, with its watchtower topped by double roofs of clay tiles, and Chengli noticed the guardian dragon perched high above on the ridge line. They reached the cool shadow of the city wall just as the royal procession came out through the archway of the gate. flanked by soldiers standing at attention, and a row of red lanterns hung for the festive occasion. The king's wooden carriage was small, but it had a broad umbrella protecting the riders from the scorching sun, and 4 horses covered with golden bells and bright red tassels pulling it slowly forward. Servants in blue gowns followed behind on foot. Everyone carried gifts to leave at the temple for the monks who were painting the wall murals of the Buddha. These devoted men asked for no pay for their work and lived only on the gifts people gave them. It was the way folks thanked them for the beautiful paintings they put on the temple walls. Chengli stared as the procession passed by, and his legs suddenly lost their will to move. This is not going to work, he thought. No one will listen to us. No one will even notice us. Aye! A blur of orange flashed in front of Chengli's eyes. He crumpled to the ground in fear, clamping his arms over the top of his head. Feeling nothing, he forced his eyes open. Flaming arrows stuck out of the gravel in front of him, blocking his path. He glanced sideways. Fourth brother also crouched with his face squashed to the ground. Boots appeared right in front of his nose. Chengli looked up. Soldiers stood in front of him with knives at their waists and bows drawn. What is this? The first soldier barked. Sand urchins dare approach the royal family? Chengli's stomach lurched, and words banged around in his head like warriors in combat. Failure, prison, hard labor. Master Feng would fire him or sell him as a slave. Fourth brother's voice cut through Chengli's whirling thoughts. Live forever, strong protector. We are your servants. We are simple desert boys, but we bring a message from our own noble princess. Chengli stopped shaking and his mind cleared. How could fourth brother talk like that, like he wasn't afraid of anything? Your ruler's nobility, his splendor, is known to all, fourth brother continued. I never heard of their ruler before, thought Chengli. If he wishes these humble ones to approach, we shall do so. Fourth brother stated simply, as secure with his words as a royal ambassador. The soldier chuckled. Stand up, fast-talking urchin, he ordered, and spit the sand out of your mouth. He waited while fourth brother did as he was told. Now who is this princess, and why does she have desert scum do her errands? Fourth brother explained about their caravan, the princess they were escorting, and her wish to attend the famous party at the sand dunes. While he talked, the fire arrows burned themselves out, and the soldier put his arrow back in the quiver. Chengli had a new thought. Perhaps he too could play at this game of wits. He stood and cleared his throat. My shadow is small before the blazing sun of your strength, he said to the soldier. But this small boy was sent on the errand because he accidentally insulted Princess Mei Ling, who comes from the emperor's court in Chang'an, and she has chosen this quest as my penance. We desire to ask for a safe conduct document to allow our imperial princess to attend the party at Singing Sands Dunes. She is a very young princess and would like to have one day to behave as a child. Stay here, the soldier ordered. He strode away, muttering, Emperor and Chang'an. He soon returned with a wooden ticket printed with the red seal of the magistrate's family. Carry this to your princess. Tell her Du Hong welcomes her.